Recording in progress.
Okay, let us begin. B'siyat Shmai Shabbos Parshas Chayesorim Mevorchim HaChodesh Kislev Tavshin Lamed Hey. Avram Zaken Baba Yomim, and Avram was elderly or old or etc. Coming into days, Vavaya Berchs Avram Bakoil, and Hashem benched Avram Avinu with everything. It was explained in the previous Maamar that we had in last week's Dvar Malchus. The explanation, what does it mean that he benched him with koil, which is on the way that Rebbe Rashab, the one whose Yom Haledes is on the 20th of Cheshvan, explains, it's a very lofty bracha that includes everything. That's the meaning of bakoil, that it's everything, all inclusive, beyond all types of division. Because it is beyond division. But it comes out afterwards from that big place, from that all-encompassing place. It comes out afterwards in a way of that it breaks down into specific details. That's the meaning, that another pshat in bakoil is that it's the numerical equivalent of the word ben, a son, because from the general it comes down to the details, into the specifics, and the specific in this case is a son. And also, we also explained the previous Maamar. That's also the continuation of the psuk about the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka, because concerning marriage, the power of the Ein Sof comes down in a revealed way. Which is should say mikvot, which had more masham nishma, like it's explained in the Hemshech of Maamar, known as Samach to Samach, from the year Tafresh Nun Zayin of the Friedrich Rebbe's Chasana of the Rebbe Rashab, that over there in the idea of children, you have the level which marriage is about having children. You have the revelation of the power of the Ein Sof, because the power of the Ein Sof is revealed in the power of procreation, which goes on forever and ever. In the bakoil, this idea of the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka, which is the manifestation of the koyach Ein Sof, is also similar to the idea of bakoil, because bakoil shekoil lakoil, because the Ein Sof is koil lakoil. That's the same idea that's manifested in the wedding. Together is chalkos, beyond the entire idea of divisions and breaking down into details. So now the Rebbe is going to bring new pirushim in the idea, in the meaning of the word bakoil of this pasuk, Hashem Berech Avram bakoil, and then he's going to bring us back again to some of the topics that we spoke about in the previous Maamar as well. So he says it's Ois Zayin. He's even numbering the Oisius as a continuation of the previous Maamar, if I understand correctly. He says, there's another explanation on what it says, that Hashem benched Avram with everything, like it's brought down the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda says, the meaning of bakoil means that Avram Avinu had a daughter. Others say, Bas Avram u bakoil shma. It's not just that he had a daughter, and that's the meaning of the word bakoil, but rather the name of the daughter was bakoil. The Rebbe says, according to what is explained many times at length, all the explanations in one word. Not only are these and those, meaning all the different pirushim, are words of the living God, but additionally, there's a connection, association between all the different pirushim. And they complete each other. Each one brings and complements what the other one says. Not only do they not contradict each other, though superficially, sometimes when we look on certain pirushim, we will say this is two opposite things. So therefore, based on this approach, yesh lahoisef u'levai gam hashayches shel pirush zem imashin is bar le'el shebakoil u'in shel amaylam is chalkos koyach ein sof. So we need to also explain how, when we explain that Bakoil goes on a bas, goes on a daughter, or a daughter that her name was Bakoil, how is that connected with what we said, that Bakoil means idea that the level that's beyond his chalkos, the power of the Ein Sof. So now in the second paragraph on page Vav, he's going to go on further to review what we spoke about before, about how Vashem Berch Savram Bakoil followed a few concepts, the idea of Avraham, what Avraham is about, and then Zokin, what's the Zokin, and the Baba Yamim, and then after you have Avraham and Zokin and Baba Yamim, so then you have, on top of that, past that, you have Vashem Berch Savram Bakoil. It says in line 3, Ve'inyan bezedin is Borleil was explained in the previous Maamar. The idea that Hashem benched Avram with everything. Follows what came before. That says in the pasuk, Avram was elderly and he was coming into days. Because Avram on its own. Before the letter Hey was added to his name, who Avram is exalted father, meaning father's going on intellect, the intellect that's concealed from any thought, and then Zakin, who inyan zeshakana chachma, the idea of elder. An elder is someone that acquired wisdom. And coming into days who inyan shleimus avodah ma'aseh mitzvahs is referring to the perfect and complete avodah ma'aseh mitzvahs. Like the Baal Shem Tov teaches, there's not a single day that's missing. It's Hemshech that the person is supposed to bring down on that particular day. And following that, after these things, Avram and Zokin and Baba Yomim, then there's Vavai Berch Avram Bakoil, because Bakoil Shekoy al Helam Ha'atzmi. It's referring to the essential concealment. And that's beyond the concealed intellect, that's concealed beyond any type of thought. Because the intellect that's concealed from any thought, that's a type of concealment that is to be found within existence, meaning that even while it's concealed, it exists. But the essential concealment is a concealment that is in such a type of state where even where it's concealed, it's not in a state of existence. Because the type of concealment that's in a state of existence, that's likened to the fire that's within a coal, and you could feel its heat, and you could extinguish it by putting it into water, etc., and it's easily can be extracted by blowing on it. True, it needs the effort of blowing, but it doesn't need such hard work to extract it. On the other hand, the Helama, great concealment that's beyond any type of being in any type of existence, which is what is the level of Bakoil is from. That's bedugmas eisha b'tzorach halamish. That's similar to the concealment of fire that's in a flint rock. Though the fire is extracted from that rock, Mikol Mokim still in all, Ein Sham Metzias H, there is no entity of fire within the flint rock. And like we said, you could immerse it in water, etc., etc. It's not going to affect it. But you need a lot more work to draw out fire from a flint rock than to draw out fire from a coal. And because of that, you have, in the similar vein, or not because of that, but in a similar vein, whenever you have a Helam She'enu Metzias, it's much more work to extract it. So he says in line 16, to be able to draw down from this essential concealment, the concealment that is similar to the concealment of fire within a flint rock, that's through the avoida of a rebounding light. that it's not enough a direct light, a direct type of energy, but one needs to have challenges to overcome to bring that out. Even though through the avodah of the direct light comes down a light that is beyond the vision, because it's still coming down from a state of concealment. But it's a state of concealment that it's there b'metzias in its state of concealment. It is already within the category of division. It has to do already with it. To be able to draw down from the essential concealment, this is only through the avodah of the rebounding light. That's the avodah in a way of effort specifically, that you need to have a lot of toil to be able to extract it. Just like the flint rock, you need to smash the rock, etc., to extract those sparks. It's a lot more than the blowing on the coal where you extract the fire. Concerning this this type of strong yigiyah, this toil and effort, it says, he does to those that await him. And what does it mean, awaiting him? It doesn't mean standing with folded arms, but visa bezoyar, it's brought down the zoyar, the yasel machakaloi means ilain inun the dochkin lemil the chachmasa. It's these that press and exert themselves for matters of wisdoms for Torah. And so too, v'chein avodas hanisyonis, the challenge of tests of nisyonis are also those things that evoke much deeper powers from this level of Helam She'ena B'Metzias. Commission is Bar Leil Baruch, like was explained previously at length. He mentioned that Hashem Nisas Avraham in last week's parsha, that Nisas from the word raised up, because only through the Nisyonis, which is like the Erchaizer, the challenges, only through that can you receive from that elevated state. So now, according to this, that we explained this amazing level of Bakoil that's way beyond everything, Helam She'ena B'Metzias, etc., higher than Avraham, higher than Zokin and Baba Yamim, we have to explain the connection. How does it fit in with the explanations that he had a daughter, or the daughter that he had her name was Bakoil, as we will explain going on further in the Maamar. So now the Rebbe is we're going to go into new topics that we didn't have in the previous Maamar. Top of page Zayin, Ois Ches. This will be understood. Behegdem hamuva ba'orat Torah dibra maskal zeh. Kuti Torah Larizal, by prefacing what's brought down in the Maamar that Tzemach Tzedek in Orat Torah, with the same title of Avram Zaken Baba Yamim, and he brings it from the Likutei Torah of the Arizal. That over there, the Arizal didn't write anything of his own. It's all transcribed by his Talmud, Reb Chaim Vital. And sometimes, even though he's transcribing what the Chaim Vital says, what the Arizal says, sometimes he will speak in his own voice, and he will ask and say something about his own look and view and understanding. So the Tzemach Tzedek brings down Shemistapik Reb Chaim Vital. Reb Chaim Vital has a certain question and doubt. Im koiden matan Torah. In Kabbalah, it's brought down the concept that when we do mitzvahs down here, we make a joining and a coupling, a mating between spheres above. And in Kabbalah, it goes into many details. This Hamshach to this sphere, to that sphere, Yichud Zah, Yichud Chutzah Shchinte, Yichud Avad, different types of Yichudim and Zivugim, different types of mating and marriages and couplings. So Reb Chaim Vital asks, if before Matan Torah, the mitzvahs that the Avos did down here, did they also accomplish above these type of unions? So he says, the main idea of union and mating, that's in the day of his chasana. The Chazal say on the pasuk Tzena v'rena b'noi siyam b'melch shloime b'atar shitla. It says, go out and see the king Shloime in the crown that his mother coronated him. B'yom chasanasoi, the Chazal say that is going on Matan Torah. So in other words, just like Matan Torah is called the chasana, so in a similar vein, any matters pertaining to spiritual weddings, which that's what the chasana was with Matan Torah, can only be accomplished post Matan Torah, perhaps. So maybe the Tzemach Tzedek brings to answer this question of the Reb Chaim Vital, what they said in the Medrash Rabbah concerning that I have remembered my covenant Yaakov. What does that mean? When did he remember it? So it's not that he remembered it like the simple pshat is now our days and Golus or whatever, many years after Yaakov, Hashem remembers Yaakov Avinu. So the Medrash says actually just the opposite. That when Avraham Avinu was in danger of being killed by Nimrod, that he was being thrown into the fiery furnace, Hashem remembered what would happen with Yaakov and how Yaakov would be devoted, and because of him, Avraham Avinu was saved. Avraham was only saved from the fiery furnace when Nimrod threw him in there, only in the merit of Yaakov. The king gives an example, an analogy of someone that was, for whatever reason, the king wanted to execute him. And then he saw by his astrologers, told him that this person would have a daughter that would be married to the king. So therefore, he saved this person's life instead of allowing him to be executed. So Kach Avram Chul. So to Avraham Avinu was going to be put to death by Nimrod. And Hashem saw and looked and saw that Yaakov Avinu will come out from in the future. Amar Kedayu Linotzel B'schus Yaakov, that Avraham Avinu is worthy to be saved in the merit of Yaakov. This is what it says. So Hashem said to the house of Yaakov that redeemed Avraham Avinu. Meaning, what does it mean, the house of Yaakov that redeemed Avraham? Like this Medrash says, if not for Yaakov, Avraham may not have been saved from the fiery furnace. So what does it come out from the mashal of the Melech with the daughter of the king? So everything, as we know, in Torah is exact. There's many other analogies, metaphors that the Medrash could have used to show that the king will eventually need something from this person or something from the children of this person, and that would have been enough to explain the concept. But that's not the type of metaphor he used. He used specifically marriage. So he says, in the metaphor being explained, the metaphor is from a daughter that's being married to the king. What is that primarily referring to? It's referring to, that's the level of Yaakov. Ki Avram veYitzchak zorak hachon lebchinas zivug. Avram and Yitzchak is only the preparation for the marriage. In other words, because like this person that was going to be executed, that would have a daughter that would get married. So he's only a preparation for the marriage of the king. He doesn't actually make the marriage of the king. The same thing, Avram and Yitzchak were only a preparation of the union that will take place, the king and Klal Yisrael through Yaakov. So the Rebbe right away says in the brackets, it has to be a preparation. So he says in the brackets, "V'hainu shechas v'shalom loimer," heaven forbid to say, "Shloi hoislam kol shayches klal lebchinas hazivug," that Avraham and Yitzchak had no connection with the idea of zivug and Matan Torah and Yom Chasunose and so on. Ki be'emes hischil inyan zeh kvar b'yimeim, because in truth this idea already began the days of Avraham and Yitzchak. As we know that the Maisa Ovesim and Labanim, everything that when the Ovis and Avraham and Yitzchak did was a preparation for the Yidden to do. They paved the way and so on. Ella Shoya Boy Shalchana, it was no way of preparation. What's the idea of a way of preparation? So he says, just like in the union of a chosn and kalb, there are different stages. That there's the idea of the left is under my head and his right will embrace me. These are all ways of embracing, and I think and like he's going to say, I think he's going to hint towards the smoil that goes on Yitzchak. Avraham is the level of Yemin, the right. But this is only embrace, which is still external. The Ikar Zivug, the main union, who I de Yaakov Chol, was through Yaakov. Like it says in Zohar, Hemshech Linet Fils Arvis Reshut Shetikni Yaakov, in continuation of the topic, that Ma'ariv, the Chachamim, originally it was an optional tefillah that Yaakov Avinu established. Ta Chami Avram Gosi, that Avram Chulu have a machabek law. That was Avram would embrace her. In other words, the Shekhinah, I imagine. Aval Yitzchak Chulu Shavid Droit Chais Reisha. He placed his arm under her head. Like again, Yeminot Chapkeini and Smoile Tachs L'Roishi. And then Levasar also Yaakov V'Shimish Arsa, and then afterwards Yaakov Avinu came and had the actual joining with the Shekhinah. Messiah Matzah Tzedek, and Tzedek concludes, V'im kein Maamar zeh, if so, from this statement of the Medrash, Nifshet Tzveike Shel Rab Chaim Vital, so the doubt of Rab Chaim Vital comes to a conclusion. We come to an understanding that it's to be found by Yaakov, and the preparation for it is by Avraham and Yitzchak. Then the Rebbe says in the brackets, and to note, Shezeu Dvar Bilti Rogel B'Drish Chassidus. This is something that's very uncommon in Maamar Chassidus. Sheyifteru Sfeika Shel Rab Chaim Vital, that they should solve a question of Rab Chaim Vital, Medrash, either from a Medrash or Zohar, top of page Ches, Shehayu Gam L'Mare Einov. It's not like they found up some Maamar Chazal or a Zohar that Rab Chaim Vital didn't know. Rab Chaim Vital knew this Medrash, and he knew the Zohar. And still in all, to have a Maamar Chassidus explain and answer a question of Rab Chaim Vital by bringing a Zohar and a Medrash, that's very unusual to find in Chassidus. So now, bring this back to our topic. What's this negea to our subject? Valpiza, at the top of page Ches, Valpiza Bavar Tzemach Tzedek HaPirish, Davaya Berch Avram Bakoil. According to this, the Tzemach Tzedek explains that Hashem benched Avram Bakoil. Shehoisloi Bas, that he had a daughter, Shezel Al Derech HaMedrash Rabbah Nisker Le'el. It's similar to the Medrash Rabbah that was mentioned before, that the person that the king wanted to execute, he decided not to because of Oidis Habas and Islam Melech, about the daughter that was married to the king. And we explained that this idea of the daughter's marriage to the king indicates the union and the mating in the spheres above, and the joining of the yin with the Eibishter. It's talking about the supernal union and mating. And that began, we said, with Avraham Avinu, that Avraham and Yitzchak were a preparation for that Zivug and Yichud, and that's the idea of the Bas. So now the Maamar explains, Vashem Berchs Avram Bakoil, that meaning of Bakoil, that Bas meaning, that means a daughter, is referring to that union that Avraham Avinu began and was continued with Yitzchak and culminated with Yaakov.